Let's see what we got here. 12 tools I never use. We'll see about that. Oh, how dare you? I named my firstborn Spoke Shave. I sleep with digital calipers under my pillow. In order of importance to the human race, penicillin, MRI machine, 16 gauge nailer.
I'm excited to see who gets butthurt by this list. Remember, these are the tools that I essentially never use with the type of work that I do. But feel free to leave your disdain for my choices in the comments. Let's start with humanity's third greatest gift, the 16 gauge nailer. Now, bigger than this would be a framing nailer, like 8 to 12 gauge. I don't even have one of those because I don't do that kind of work. The 18 gauge nailer is for most of your plywood projects. I'd say 18 gauge is what you're going to use the most. Next would be 23 gauge. This is for tacking in little nails on ultra small projects. So where does 16 gauge fit in? The nails are too big for all of your normal assembly projects and too small to be trusted to hold together anything that requires a nail bond. If you're going to get just one, I'm going to say 18 gauge. Skip 16 altogether. If you specialize in making spindly chairs, cover your ears now. I bought this Spoke Shave years ago because I thought all true woodworkers needed one. The truth is, I've used it 0 times. Here's number 1. Maybe the right project hasn't come up. Maybe I should devise a project in order to use it. But I think that's backwards. You shouldn't create a project because you have a tool. Rather, you should buy a tool because you've thought of a project. I think I've said this before, but I rarely use my T-handled Allen set. Yes, you get more torque on a screw, but the hard thing is figuring out what size you need. I can't walk up to a screw and say that it's a 4 or 5 with any certainty. So instead, just get one of these fold-out jobs so you can test right at the screw. Next is squeeze clamps. They're cheap, so it's easy to want to buy a ton of them, but I find very little use for them. When using them on glue-ups, they tend to create the most lateral torque on the glue seam, causing movement. So save your money and buy more quick grip clamps instead. Maybe keep one squeeze clamp around for the lawnmower. Next up is a personalized branding iron. I thought it would be cool and I would sneak it in on every project, but as you get older, vanity falls pretty far down on your give a shit list. This one's really gonna fire somebody up. But digital calipers. For me, a ruler and tape measurer work just fine. Plus, I don't work in decimals. And I get it, I'm sure there's some fraction converted ones out there, and if you measure a lot of round parts like you're a turner, I can see the value, but I rarely find myself reaching for it. We'll stay at the tool wall and go from the thing that I'm sure was gonna piss somebody off to the thing that I think that will piss off the fewest amount of people, and that's push saws. These saws cut on the push stroke, which seems to provide more resistance and is harder to keep straight. Once you use a Japanese pole saw, which cuts on the pull stroke once, you'll never go back to this again. And if your hang-up is the shape of the handle that you like, I bet some scouring on the internet can find a pole saw with this handle. And if it doesn't exist, Lee Valley, Veritas, get on it. The next item is low-budget stud finders, but one could argue stud finders in general. These 3 passes gave me 3 different center lines, the spread being 1 7/8, which is plenty wide to miss a stud on both sides. Then we have the triangle-shaped file. I get why you want the flat file, and I understand why you want the rat tail to go into holes, but the triangle? Maybe you use one of these angles to get into a groove, but that would mean that the groove has to be 60 degrees, as this is an equilateral triangle. Geometry. I've got these wire burners for the lathe that I've never even taken out of the package, but this is just a stand-in to say, Whenever you buy a new tool, you don't need to get all of the accessories that go with it right away. Just get the standard stuff first, and as you progress, move on to the more specialized items. This one might ruffle some feathers, but circular saw. Wait. I'm talking about the untracked variety. Better? Hear me out. Circular saws are supposed to make straight cuts, right? Why couldn't I do that with more precision with a track saw? Maybe you're arguing you're cutting a small piece that the track can't fit on. Miter saw. What if it's a little too wide for the miter saw? Table saw sled. To me, a circular saw is a convenience in some situations, but I don't need it. To be fair to this last one, I'm still kind of on the fence about it, but I'll include it anyway. Belt sander. It's just too aggressive and intense. I want my sanding to be nice and precise, take off everything in a nice smooth motion throughout, not leave scratch patterns. This thing is just That was stupid. If you leave it in one place for just a little bit too long, you've made an uneven ditch. There are instances where this thing can come in handy in removing a lot of material for you pretty quickly, but just be careful because it can get out of hand before you know it. So, who's angry? Let me know in the comments. And even if you're not angry, leave me your best exaggerative comment about how much you love one of these tools, and I'll feature it in a video next week. Thanks for watching. Fucking fly. Son of a bitch.